Good morning, everybody. The April 24th Board of Directors meeting is called to order. First, I would like to ask our interpreters to explain how to access interpretation. Please go ahead.
Good morning. To use the interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, World, and select English as your language. If you're joining through the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Finally, click on Mute Original Audio to not hear the original Spanish low in the background. Headsets are available for interpretation. If you're in the meeting room, please check out a headset from the receptionist in the lobby. Buenos días. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom, donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación globo terráqueo y seleccione Spanish Español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etc., presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Si no desea escuchar el audio original en inglés en el fondo, por favor seleccione Mute Original Audio, silenciar audio original. Contamos con auriculares disponibles para el servicio de interpretación. Si se encuentra en la sala de reunión, favor de pedir auriculares con la recepcionista en el vestíbulo.
Thank you. Now I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we call home. The tribal nations of the San Diego region have historically faced injustices. We acknowledge the harmony that existed between the land, nature, and its original peoples, who have since endured displacement, persecution, and systemic oppression. We pay our respect to the unceded territory and homelands of the 18 tribal nations in our region, the most in any county in the United States. From 4 cultural groups, the Kumeyaay Digueño, the Luceño, the Cupeño, and the Cahuilla. This land has nourished, healed, protected, and embraced them for many generations in a relationship of balance and harmony. As members of the SANDAG community, we acknowledge this legacy. We aspire to learn from Indigenous traditional knowledge and experiences in undoing the injustices of the past. Now, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Michael, can you please confirm quorum?
We have a quorum, Chair.
Very good. Let's move on to non-agenda public comment. How many do we have?
Chair, if you're online, please raise your hand now. We have 4 in person and we have 3 online.
Very good.
Purita Javier, followed by Cesar Javier. Go ahead and come to the podium. Purita, followed by Cesar.
Okay. Thank you.
There.
Good morning.
Good morning. Cesar Javier, 5232 Street View Drive, San Diego, California, 92105. Dear Cesar, thank you for reaching on to my office regarding your continued concerns over the air quality in your neighborhood and the bee apiary next to your residence. We've reached out to the city enforcement department and the city county's air pollution control district who found no violations of either air quality standards or city code. I understand you are interested in pursuing policy changes and invite you to contact our district, our director of policy, Brendan Dentino, who can answer any questions about the process of updating city codes. He can be contacted at 619-532. Okay, if you have any additional concerns that come up, please do not hesitate to contact Ben Mendoza. Sincerely, Sean Elo Rivera, Council Member.
Thank you.
District.
Next is Cesar Javier, followed by Truth.
Thank God. Thank Uncle Sam. Thank SANDAG. Thank you for all your auditory participation to our community issue. This is a plain deceit. Why would Mr. Rivera, aspiring mayor, along with Councilor Lacaba, then the environmental chair working committee, deceit? They would rather look after the businesses, job creator, than health and safety of humans. The same deceit to what Madam Vivian presented in this forum. People are sick and dying. Mama Gire, where are you? And the city, as a frontliner in responsibility and accountability, did you ignore it, sir, Lacaba? Or just grossly neglected? Thank you, RJs. You have inputted crime against society as one very, very vital information, documentation. Crime against society, pollution. And RJs had registered 6 already. I hope that includes the crime committed by our elected city officials and the county officials. We expect that you respect human lives. We expect that you respect San Diegans, particularly our case. We are in twilight years. And what have you done, Councilor Lacaba? Ma'am Vivian, who has the experience, the exposure to crisis like Tijuana River Valley pollution crisis. My God, my God.
Thank you. Next is Truth, followed by allegedly Audra.
All right, in historical moments, on April 14th, 2023, I called into a SANDAG meeting for the first time and created chuckles by playing the Star Wars theme. And I don't believe anyone had played a clip at the time, let alone tell off publicly the Soviet dictator CEO the way he deserved. Then I attended in person and it was all downhill from there, downhill for the bad guys, of course. In conflicts of interest, remember how Hamul let SANDAG use their casino for their retreat at no charge? A conflict of interest has already appeared. The Board of Supervisors, specifically Joel, Manuela, and Tara, have been using the Public Special Events Trust Fund to funnel money to their private campaign coffers, including thousands from the Hamul Indian Village. In other legal issues, on March 27th, after SANDAG's Associate Legal Counsel, Peter Stevens, informed me that the retreat was not recorded this year, he attached a legally questionable message, quote, "The information contained in this email message, including attachments, is intended only for the confidential use of the designated addressee. The information transmitted is subject to the attorney-client privilege and/or represents confidential attorney work product and/or other privileges. If you are not the designated addressee or the authorized agent, any further review, dissemination, distribution, or copying of this communication by you or anyone else is strictly prohibited. If you are not the intended recipient, please destroy all copies of this message and any attachments," end quote. Ask the county, who I've already fought, that's legally inaccurate, and SANDAG is going to get sued. Because 1, I'm not an attorney and I'm not a client of SANDAG or any law firm. And 2, all of the information from public records requests are public, duh. There's no privilege on public records. Who even is the delegated attorney and/or public information officer in charge of responding to public records requests? Because now that SANDAG has hired both board and so-called independent counsel, the legal waters have obviously been muddied. Not my problem. Figure it out, remove the message, and follow the law. And while I have a few seconds, I want to say hi to Judy. You're going to talk today. I hope so. And Vivian, looking down, she actually still looks vivacious. Thank you.
Next is allegedly Audra, followed by Paula Bold online.
So how exciting is it to have the world around us crumble? I bet you guys are proud of yourselves for your part in that, whether it be on an individual capacity as SANDAG or in your, communities, at your cities, and whatever job title you hold. And just the fact that you were probably going to be going into famines and stuff like that. Maybe we'll get rations, right, with all of these things. And, more and more people are becoming homeless, right? And we're going to price people out of driving. So we're getting really down to, the nuts and bolts of what you guys have been pushing for a very long time. So I just want to give you guys a round of applause for doing that. And I'm just wondering if at any point you guys are ready to course correct and just quit doing that. And quit, having people suffer at the cost of your fraud, waste, and abuse that you guys engage in on a regular basis. We have a rogue government that has gone against the people, and it's very disturbing to see that so many people are suffering, and nobody really cares. You guys sit here and you virtue signal, you gaslight the public and tell us that you do, but it is evident to look at the world around us that you don't. And these are all choices that you guys make on a daily basis, to push lies that are very dangerous to people. People shouldn't be losing their lives. We shouldn't have the world around us look like this because of people that are in power that just love money so much that they're willing to, destroy the world around us. And it's sad because this is what's happening. This is how you get to the New World Order that everybody's been pushing for a very long time. And you guys are puppets in that. So it's interesting because the elite that are telling you to do all the things you're doing here don't care about you. And they're getting you to do all of these things for them, to us. But you always have a choice in what you do, and you can always course correct. And you can start doing things that are beneficial to us. Quit engaging in fraud, waste, and abuse. And actually start making it easier for us to live, not harder.
Thank you. Next is Paul the Bold online, followed by Blair Beekman.
Okay, Paul the Bold, good morning. It's budget time on May 8th. Time's up, pens down, as they used to say on Jeopardy! The feds, state, and San Diego City and County have huge debt burdens and deficits, and people are unlikely to trust you with your inflated projections, corruption, unimplemented audit recommendations, lack of transparency and accountability, and all that. Things are getting better, but you keep backsliding. Why do you expect people to give you all the funds or taxes you beg for? The revenue expectations I've seen are totally unrealistic. Major projects keep getting delayed, Los Angeles bikeways, fixing freeways and all. I'm really surprised you aren't discussing it today. You need to really revamp the budget and stop virtue signaling that all is well, because when it comes to moving all the special purpose funds you need, if there's a budget shortfall, money doesn't come on time or even gets clawed back, you will be scrambling. Then, like so much around the county, the outrageous bus and train fare hikes of up to 40% will be taking effect soon, increasing the inflationary spiral on all of us as fare hikes, garbage fees, electric bill hikes, water rate hikes, and I'm sure SANDAG fits in there somewhere. They'll get passed along to all of us. This is totally unfair. We're paying taxes. You should.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Blair Beekman, followed by our last public comment, Andrea Ebbing.
Hi, Blair Beekman. Thanks for the meeting today. Congratulations to Cesar and Purita Javier. It sounds like they're making some sort of progress. They're getting feedback about their issue. It's my feeling that as the current permit holder has a seniority in why he can more easily get a permit time after time, I'm hoping there can be some sort of establishment that, as the Javiers have been living in the area for a number of years also and have a certain seniority to the area, that can grant them some sort of hearing process to review again the current permit. Some sort of forgiveness practice to allow a hearing is needed, or just some sort of ways to make that a legal process. Good luck what to do that. The Javiers have seniority in living there a long time, and they've done a lot of work. Good luck in the effort that this can be addressed. Good luck to Andrea Ebbing. She has had a really difficult situation that I think we're going to have to review some of our best practices. And good luck that we should have the responsibility to ask those questions at this time. Good luck in her efforts. Good luck in all of our efforts, in fact. Good luck in working with ARGIS issues. That it's just my strong belief that we can have a higher standard than Jayhawks and the San Diego Law Enforcement Data Collection Center. And we got to find out what that is. And good luck in doing that. And to conclude, I'm really concerned about the rate hike issues. You're doing everything you can to keep the rate hikes for the future of transit reasonable, but there's problems there. Thank you.
Your time has expired. Our last public comment is Andrea Ebbing.
Hi, this is Andrea Ebbing, and I wanted to just remind everybody that Rebecca Jones did come up with a really good idea to audit ARGIS through the DOJ. And I also want to just remind everybody that writing a memo to the DOJ doesn't take 15 people and weeks. I do it daily, so you can write a memo instantly. But I do realize that going up against this RICO enterprise is probably intimidating for several reasons, because they will murder you. I mean, there is actually a website coming out that's going to expose everything. But I do want to take a minute to remember some of the folks who we've lost in the county and in the city, like the deputy district attorney who did not shoot herself in front of a police officer at a traffic stop, the DA secretary who did not overdose on drugs and overdose her granddaughter as well, the other prosecutor DA who was a rising star and died, the Lemon Grove City Council member that died suddenly, the National City manager that died suddenly, Stephen Kelly, the clerk for the appeals court, Dan McAllister. He retired 17 months early with no term limits, and nobody knows how he died. Officer suicide, a criminologist pushed to suicide, a San Diego sergeant accused of sex crimes found dead. Let's see here. San Diego police officer dies outside of River County Jail after DUI. There's a lot of questions, a lot of resignations. Leslie Lord, why did she kill herself? Oceanside councilman dead. Chula Vista council member dead. Felony charges against Luke Schaefer. Felony charges against Tony Blaine. So do you either get knocked out, you get taken out, or you get felony charged? Which one is it, Summer Stefan and your goons? Come on. Do you think you're really, really tough with all these, sudden disappearances? You're a mob boss. Get out.
Thank you. Your time has expired. That concludes our public comment, Chair.
Thanks, Michael. We're on to member non-agenda public comments. We'll start with Mayor Jones.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just wanted to bring to your attention, and I really don't like to bring this up. I don't like when I see last minute changes to the agenda. I know we had received on Tuesday, I print out my agenda usually Tuesday, and I did print my agenda out. But there was a change to item number 3.5 that was not noted, and I'm not sure when it even happened, but I noticed it this morning, which is very last minute, and that's on our Transnet change of at the last minute. So I just wanted to bring that up because I don't know if we're all even going to be able to make an informed decision because it was changed so last minute.
Well, it sounds like once we get to consent.
I just want to bring this up because it's not specifically about that item. My question, I just want to bring up, We made a change to the agenda. It wasn't noted. It wasn't noticed to us, which is a problem for me, which I brought this up numerous times. I've let it go a couple of times, but I just feel like this is a red line strike, not noted anywhere. And I just wanted to bring that up. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Councilmember Heredia.
I just wanted to thank SANDAG staff for coming out this month and giving us a nice comprehensive roundtable with the community on how to reconnect communities. Thank you. I believe you'll be coming back for another one.
Great, good to hear. All right. As a reminder, every year the Office of the Independent Performance Auditor conducts an annual assessment to identify risks that could prevent SANDAG from achieving its goals. This process then informs the creation of the OIPA's annual plan. This year, through an online survey, the Independent Performance Auditor is providing an opportunity for the public to share what high-risk areas of SANDAG they'd like to see audited by OIPA in the coming year. So you see there's a QR code right there. So today's the last day open to the public. So scan the QR code. We'll leave it up for a little bit and take the survey. I'll turn it over to Mario for his update.
Thank you, Chair. As most of you must be aware, if not all of you, MTS and North County Transit boards voted to approve the fare increase recommendation for the Transportation Committee. A reminder, the SANDAG board has delegated the authority to the Transportation Committee to amend the regional ordinance. So there will be two readings. On the second reading, it will be the vote. So one will be in May, another one in June, to consider the fare ordinance and the boards, both MTS and North County Transit boards recommendations. Earlier this week, I attended the State Senate Transportation Committee legislative hearing in support of SB 1087. It did pass the committee, so now it has passed the Environmental and the Transportation Committee. This is a bill that SANDAG is co-sponsoring with the other three major MPOs of the state. We also met with Senator Blakespear to continue coordination on issues on the Lausanne. As some of you may know, Senator Blakespear has a special interest, and it's very focused, meaning special interest to improve the reliability of the service in the Lausanne. We did discuss the Lausanne agency, and our member here at SANDAG is Council Member Joy Lines, and I did meet with her, and we will be meeting the other three representatives of the Lausanne that represent San Diego at the Lausanne board, the member from MTS and the member for North County Transit, to trying to align efforts to bring in more funding and better coordinate the service on the Lausanne corridor, and having San Diego a more broader voice to get the Lausanne Authority to be more active. We're also going to be getting more engaged on the CalSTA working group regarding also the Lausanne corridor. Later or earlier next week, we're going to be going, some of us, to Washington on the San Diego Chamber trip. Multiple issues that we will be bringing up: the Tijuana River, the Lausanne corridor, the new transportation bill reauthorization, OTA Mesa East. So there are a lot of issues. Let's remember that the transportation bill, federal transportation bill that brings most of the funding, or at least half of the funding for our capital programs and our planning efforts, it relies on the surface transportation bill that's running out this year. So it's probably going to go through a continuous resolution while it's being negotiated. But this is the moment where San Diego can bring in its needs, its priorities, so it could be considered in the transportation bill. We did sign the TCA agreement to partner with them on the back office. Regarding tolling, I also have to report that we met with the city of Chula Vista staff and city manager. I'm not going to put words on the city managers itself, but I think the meeting was very, very good. We're working on some scenarios on ideas and scenarios to bring to the board as you mandated us for the early payoffs. So our chief financial officer and our capital programs senior director have been really working actively. We've been talking with Caltrans. So I think we have some good information to bring in and items to be considered by the board. As you are aware, we've been mentioning that we are doing multiple assessments on the different departments here at SANDAG. We're going to start the second phase of our toll ops center assessment. So that's going well. And we will be starting our Department of Human Resources assessment. And all this is in order to evaluate our processes, our activities, as well as looking into policies, both internal policies and board policies that the General Counsel is also evaluating, so we can bring in a wholesale proposal on how we can get better organized and how we can have more guardrails in the agency that reflect the 21st century, not the 20th century SANDAG. So that's important. A good example is there are now 3 people who report to the board. Myself, the CEO, the general counsel, and the independent auditor, but yet there's no clear policies that demarks our roles and responsibilities within the agency and what you wish to say. So that's an opportunity where we need to draft those items. And like those are many, many areas of opportunities that we're going to try to organize them. Office of General Counsel is organizing them in subject matters so we can bring in and have some workshops with the board and with the different committees and the executive committee more than anything. So those are some important things that we're working on. Bike Anywhere Day. This is one of our most important events that we have every year. And the team released the pit stop map, and we have more than 100 pit stops through the entire region. Please check out the plan, the routes, and I hope everybody participates. It will be on Thursday, May 21st. Everybody can participate in one way or another. You don't have to bike 20 miles. You can participate in a pit stop. There's many, many ways to do that. There's been a lot of questions about the SB 79 maps. We are working on evaluating the requirements in advance of releasing our map. So we're still working on that and trying to understand the different things that are out there. So hopefully we'll be releasing a map later this year. That concludes my report.
Very good. Thank you. We'll now move to the consent agenda. Michael, any public comments on consent and how many?
We do have public comment, Chair. We have 3 in person. If you're online, please raise your hand now. And we have 3 online. Please, commenters, it'll be Cesar Javier, followed by Truth. Please limit your comments to items on consent agenda only. Please state the consent agenda item you are speaking to. If comments are not related to the consent agenda, you will be asked to stay on topic. If you do not stay on topic, you will be muted.
Thank you,
Javier,
Sandra.
go ahead.
We are not competing with you philosophers as far as the 10 fingers intelligences, but we do share with you to work together. 3.1 reflects the product of processes in the delivery of public good in mobility, transportation, circulation, and that includes communication. It's a kilometer post which is expected, meant onward, expectant of intended consequence. The question is, what about the unintended consequence? Are we ready? Are we prepared? Again and again, we can never defeat nature, but we could only protect ourselves. And this is true to, what is that city? Solana Beach City, where the geographic pie is being chipped by nature. And we suggested that they should start moving those humans, residents, somewhere safer. 3.2, 3.3, 3.5, we could only up to 3.6, we could only Venn diagram by saying policy crafting, policy implementation, leadership, funding of projects, audit. This is the specialty of Ma'am Vivian because she is the chair, Audit City of San Diego. Where is the money, Ma'am Vivian? Where is the performance of our public servants in related to mobility, circulation, etc., etc.? You could just imagine 1/5 is being tackled by these great thinkers. And the remaining 4.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Truth, followed by allegedly Audra. Please state the consent agenda item you are speaking to.
Item 3.1, the minutes say Lisa and Joe were absent, and no offense, but I was right last year when I said Minto should be chair. Sorry. However, yet we're stuck with C Team Ron for now. Oh, but I don't know what happened. The one time I was going to say something nice about Minto, he's not here. Too bad. Item 3.2, this pack list contains audit and transportation, but what happened to public safety? It was the same day as transportation. And in a way, though, I kind of understand because I totally forgot about it too. I was busy with pizza. Item 3.3, $11.4 million in securities purchased, aka gambling with our tax dollars, including $3.5 million in nefarious big pharma company AbbVie Inc., owned by Abbott Labs, known for their experimental and faulty COVID test. And despite dodging American taxes by registering their intellectual property in Bermuda, they're now in business with the federal government, getting a $100 billion investment from our tax dollars. They also get to be exempt from tariffs and pricing mandates. We call that free trade fascism. I do not support any investment in AbbVie. In the union-controlled RTIP, is that accurate that the empty North Park Mid-City bikeways are costing over $104 million so far? Item 3.4, why did FACT get their grant almost doubled to $617,000? I do not support buying cars or paying for anyone's mileage with our tax dollars, especially with zero justifications, and especially not for corrupt NGO fraudsters. Jewish Family Services does not deserve $1.2 million of our tax dollars. They deserve prison for human trafficking. Item 3.5, I'm not surprised that Omar and Mada'i are assigned to this project because those two will lie to justify anything. No to putting 3.5 miles of delayed bike lanes on dangerous Imperial Avenue, spending probably $30 million on something nobody's going to use because of dangerous car and trolley traffic, drug encampments, and fentanyl pipes lining the streets. And add to that the continued lack of transparency that Rebecca brought up. Item 3.6, sad that nobody wants or can join audit as a public member. I guess the double standards on qualifications along with the catering isn't enough of a sell.
Next is allegedly Audra, followed by Paul the Bold online. Please state the consent agenda item you're speaking to.
All right. More fraud, waste, and abuse. 3.5. And you guys are talking about Bike Anywhere Day on bike lanes to nowhere. It's pretty ridiculous. And the amount of money that we're spending on these stupid bike lanes. I mean, just right now with this item, it's like 5.815440 per mile. 5.8 million a mile. That sounds good, right? Let's keep doing that, right? As the world around us crumbles. Anywho, you can't trust this audit committee, OIPA, because they're supposed to be identifying risks. Well, they're putting SANDAG at risk by getting into contracts with the Tyler Technologies ERP system. There's 18 federal lawsuits that are currently happening for contractual issues involving controversy over their claims of their project delays. There's ballooning costs, broken promises regarding the technology capabilities. I mean, it made it harder for you guys to even write checks. And you have to be trained to use this kind of system. And there's already been data breaches, failed implementation, and they want the monopoly on these contracts because, you know, they're sitting here and they're engaging with BlackRock and Vanguard. Those are their investors. So even if there is a ransomware attack or a breach of data, it's internally happening when you have entities that are investing like that. So it's like, we don't need to be protecting ourselves in that way when we have internal things happening where this data can be used very nefariously. And it's like, you guys don't even care about this stuff. And it's ridiculous because you spend a bunch of our money, especially like on this fucking bike lanes. And it's like, when are we going to actually do something that is beneficial to the people? I mean, you guys won't even acknowledge the chemtrails, the geoengineering and weather modification that's totally destroying our planet, yet you sit here and you virtue signal like you want to save it.
Next is Paul the Bold online, followed by Consuelo.
Thanks, Paul the Bold. 3.5, your $15.8 million bikeway project was delayed, so now you want 3 million more, over 5 million per mile for something few will use and does not enhance safety a bit. Then the chart says progress date is 66%, yet under major milestones it says the project is open and construction is complete. The chart below says you've budgeted construction costs out to 2028. Now I do not get why the total of 15 or 18 million project is 30 million. Something stinks here. 3.6 audit appointments. You have 2 applications for the open seats, but want more, delaying the appointment of members who may have new progressive ideas. Typical. You also need to follow the Brown Act requirements to post agenda items 72 hours in advance. See to it. I see the Transportation Committee, 3.2 by the way. I see the Transportation Committee approved huge increases in MTS and NCDD fares, barely affordable to most in this high rent era when we're teetering on the brink of recession. Policymakers like to approve things without really thinking through the consequences, like more cars on the road, more hate for government, more people who can't afford trips to the grocery or clothing store, maybe more homeless. 3.4, revised call for projects. Most of the additions seem reasonable, but why are you granting 4 vehicles to Noah Homes and
Thank you. Your
attachment
time has expired. Next is Consuelo, followed by our last public comment, Blair Beekman. Consuelo, go ahead. You're self-muted.
Okay, thank you. Consuelo here. So I will be focusing on 3.1. So it would be nice, actually, it would be responsible if the public could clearly see what was discussed by both board members and the public speakers, the concerned citizens, without having to dig through hours of the video to find it. You know, you guys love to use the word transparency, as other agencies within our county do, but what we're getting is not transparent at all. It's more like a murky swamp, very murky, unclear, and intentionally difficult to navigate. And, you know, I get documentation becomes a lot harder, especially when the public is actively exposing corruption, thick corruption, backroom deals, and, you know, the racket that many of these agencies have become. Yeah, that's when things start getting vague. It's summarized and conveniently left out. Okay, but the problem is the public still deserves to know what's being said in these meetings. People are not hearing this on the 6 o'clock news. That's a racket in itself. This room may be one of the only places where truth actually surfaces, and even here it's getting buried in poor record keeping. Also regarding the bike lanes, I don't know what item that is, but whatever. These wasteful bike lane projects, entirely inequitable, millions being poured into something that serves a narrow slice of the population. While homelessness continues to rise, mental health crisis explode, and families struggle just to stay afloat.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is our last public comment, Blair
Thank
Beekman.
you. Piece of shit, Mike.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I wanted to speak to the meeting minutes approval from last April 10th. You had consent calendar items on Transit Capital Improvement Program, budget amendments for capital program management, and RTIP issues. All of these items in some way can, I think, be of help and service to addressing the rate increases for SDMTS coming up soon. When that vote comes up, if you attended recent meetings of the SDMTS, their board meetings, they want to create, a special fund for monthly passes for low-income people as a way to supplement a really steep increase of $5 overall the next 2 years. It may just actually be in this upcoming first 6 months, just in the fall. I think that's way too steep. And even though you have a program set up, there should be other ways to mitigate that and address that. In the meantime, I think a 2-year raise is much easier to understand. I mean, a $2 increase is much easier to understand, in the upcoming months. Even though you have a program ready to go, I hope when you come up to the next voting to leave the door open to give another 6 months to dialogue, community input, ideas, if needed and where needed. Keep the door open, please. That's my major ask. That's what I can ask of you guys. Please don't vote for a $5 increase on monthly passes to low-income people. I think that's extraordinarily wrong. It's a wrong approach, and good luck on what you can work on it with. And good luck that we can talk more openly about chemtrail issues and weather patterns that we have control over.
Thank you. Your
It's an
time
important
has
subject.
expired. That concludes our public comment on consent agenda, Chair.
Thank you. So we're on to member comments, and clearly we're going to have 3.5 pulled. So Clint, if you could get ready to present. Mayor Jones.
I was going to pull it, so that would be my first comment, and I should wait to comment about it, correct?
Yeah, let's hear
Okay,
what Clint has to say
Okay.
about what the changes were and all of that.
Can I also make one note? It's wrong in our iPads.
Exactly. It's
Okay,
not
all right,
in our
perfect.
iPads. Exactly.
So it's going to be Dave and Clint. Anybody else? That's it.
Very good. Yeah, thank you. Hold on. First Vice Chair.
So I'll move the remainder of the consent items.
May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Gasterland. Okay. Please use your devices to vote for the remainder of consent, minus 3.5. Vista.
I'm sorry, Chair. Who was your second?
Gasterland. Caesar's not in the room. Councilmember Contreras.
Mayor Wells.
Very good. That passes unanimously. All right. We have a presentation on the item as well as the changes that occurred and how we're going to fix that.
Yeah, no, we don't have a presentation, but happy to answer any questions. You mentioned the change. So there was one item in the fiscal impact identified. It talked about an additional $1.48 million of transit BPNS. That was a typo. It's actually 326,000 of transit BPNS, and that's the required match to the RSTP funds. So that's why the transit BPNS.
Okay. So in the past, we used to have little item like blue sheets on our dais areas so that we could notice that these changes were made. So I appreciate if that occurs in the future so we can see that.
So I think to kind of put a big context into it, there was a delay that has cost. There is a proportionality of the funding. So the city of San Diego is putting their proportionality of the funding, and the region puts in the remainder or the proportion that the region is covering for the project is being covered with federal funds, but those federal funds always have a requirement to have a matching fund from a local. So the $300,000 that Clint's mentioning is the required match to bring in those federal dollars in on our part. Did I put it correctly there, Clint?
Correct. So overall, there's a $4.5 million request, increase in construction due to delays. There are two parts to that request. So one were the delays, and it's a little over $3 million that we'll be able to go in and break down. And the other 1.5 is funded by the city. It's a request as we're in that area. They had other work planned for the pavement rehab. And so we negotiated and worked through that. And so the city's funding that portion of the job for all the pavement work, including any soft costs required for overseeing that. So that's the 1.4 you see coming from the city, and the rest are really due to the delays. Before I hand over to Dave and kind of go through any specifics or questions you have, to remind you, yes, it's a bike project, 3.5 miles, roughly a mile that has a separated cycle track. But with that, we also have a bunch of other safety improvements and pedestrian improvements, including 7 bent outs of the crosswalks to make it safer for pedestrians to cross. It's got 7 bus islands, so there's transit improvements in there. We have 2 peg crossings, and then we mentioned the city improvements. And a lot of the delays in this, that $3 million, were actually really around those pedestrian improvements at the bulb outs and the traffic signals, which caused a lot of the delays to the project.
And I think two things that are important to discuss, more strategic here. One, I think eventually we need to brand bike projects when there are actually bike projects, but when they're corridor projects, we should brand them corridor projects, right? And with all the improvements, the pavement, all the other elements and the utilities, some of these projects that we have them branded bike projects are truly a broader corridor project. So that's something that we're going to change. And as we have discussed, we're also, the agency is moving out of doing local bike projects in the future to focus more on those broader regional routes that you all have brought up in the different priority discussions. It's a journey to move to that, and also eventually, hopefully, as we're having the Transnet lockboxes discussion, to have a conversation about a grant program on the long run for when it's actually a local bike project, that we have a grant program available for all the cities, and you can go and pursue that, and then you could add it to your corridor improvement, while we at SANDAG will be focusing in the future more on those regional routes that you all have asked us to focus on, that connects multiple cities through those multimodal solutions.
Okay, with that, I hope all questions are answered in terms of that, and that the procedure will change. That will not only get the blue sheet at our places, but if you could just also send out an email as soon as that's noticed to the board of directors so that we can know in advance, because that helps our understanding and our comments going forward here at the board. Mayor Sanchez.
Trying to remember
our new
how
stuff.
this.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I just want to add a follow-up question with Mario. For the Coastal Rail Trail in Oceanside, it's a regional project, but we also are counting on it for safe routes to school. It would still be considered a regional project.
Yes, for sure. It's a discussion, but we do want to start focusing on those big projects that you have mentioned that have multiple connectivity. And again, this is where we're going to have those discussions of Transnet, because Transnet in this case is meeting its purpose. It's matching the federal funds, so we can bring in those bulk of federal funds, as well as our partnership with the city. We have to be nimble. There's no other matching funds that can be used, so that's why we're using them. But that's where we're trying to go, and hopefully the remainder of the year we will be able to have those discussions about those Transnet lockboxes and how we focus and prioritize that.
Great. Thank you very much.
So Mario, it would probably be good to have a list of what are the regional bike lanes versus those just the city ones. And then also the early action program bikes, that's kind of a different category itself, right? So it'd be nice to have that clear so we know what's what.
Yeah, and Clint is working and his team are working actually not just on the bike program, but on the entire capital program and bringing in the priority projects so you all can see it and provide us input and guidance. So that will guide also the conversation of Transnet and how we become more nimble. So I think it's going to be coming, it may come in chunks or in a broad pace, but we are working on bringing all that to you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Mayor Jones.
Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to adjust my chair. It's doing something weird. Anyway, so I'm very uncomfortable about this. I mean, I'll be honest. It doesn't sit well with me when we're talking about transparency and we've come so far. I feel like we have done so much. And then something like this happens where I literally, 10:30 last night, I didn't realize that there was any Transnet money actually going toward this. And when I saw that that number was identical to the number of the change order to add the road, that literally set off all of my what's going on right now. This doesn't sit well with me. And, to the fact that, then when I get here, I pull up the iPad, it has it wrong in there. And then I pull it up on my phone again, and then it's correct in there the way that has a change for the 325,911. I personally still have an issue with it because I don't feel like we're being transparent. And I feel like, kind of to the point of if we're making changes to bike projects and our dollars, I mean, that $325,000 could be used for the coastal rail trail, for the inland rail trail. I mean, sections that we literally have not been getting the right dollars for. So I have an issue with it. So I would make a motion that we take out the $325,000, not 9/11, and not use those dollars. And nothing against San Diego or any other city. If it was your project, I just feel like I don't care for the fact that we haven't noticed this. I don't care for the fact that it's been put out there, and it's literally wrong in our iPads even to this moment. And it's actually not even correct up there either. It doesn't have in there that we're using more Transnet money.
Yes, I appreciate your comment and I take full responsibility and we will beef up on the quality control, quality assurance. Now, I also have to say that being that this is already in construction, the commitment is there and the cost increase is there. So if it's not how to cover it, if we don't put the matching funds, we won't be able to bring in the federal funds into it. So it would really put complicate the input and expose the agency due to the delays. I truly understand your point.
Would it cause problems if we were simply to renotice this for the next meeting in the pursuit of more transparency, and then we can vote on it at that point instead of this time? Would that help?
We could bring it back. What I'd ask is if it's possible to approve the city amount so we could work and move that portion forward, and because we need to work with the city to get the approval to bring the funds, put in our accounting system, if that's okay, and we could hold off on the rest of it.
Yeah, I'll amend my motion to accept the money from San Diego and to bring it back to the next meeting to approve that for now, the city of San Diego's money acceptance. But I just feel like it's a better discussion to have out and open for transparency. We want to do everything right. I always tell my city staff, we need to dot our I's and cross our T's. We don't, to build trust, you literally have to do that every single time. And if you don't do it right, you've got to get it right the next time. So anyway, that would be my motion for that.
Okay.
I'll second it.
I'll second, yeah.
Who is the second?
Me.
Councilmember Fitzgerald. Great. Mayor Ehlers, you had your.
I was going to second, but I also wanted to add, I keep track of when I download early in the week. and I always check. And I have to say, in the last 6 months, there's been 4 or 5 times where there's been editing to the and changes to the package. And I think this is the worst case when that happens, where we get a last minute. So I really appreciate it. I was going to second the motion. I'll support it. Thank you.
Very good. I'll call for the vote. Carrie? 1, 2, or 3?
There it goes.
Supervisor Anderson
Bill Wells is not here.
and Mayor Sanchez.
Mayor Sanchez.
I'd like to make a comment, even though we've already voted after.
Sure.
Thank you.
So that passed unanimously already.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Jones, for bringing that up, because that was my concern too. And I think this is an opportunity for me to bring up, and I'm glad we're going to be looking at other areas, because I was looking at the same Transnet funds that could go to very good use in some of the unincorporated areas that are not represented here. And I'm just going to give you an example of one where there have been 19 serious accidents within 6 months. 9 people were in critical condition after the accident, and nothing's been really done to improve the roadway. So it's Lake Wolford and Valley Center. And I just think the unincorporated areas are very much ignored or dismissed, is the sense that those communities have expressed. And this amount of money would go such a long way if we just focus on those higher priorities, which is public safety on the roadway. And then also, I just appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking responsibility for the misinformation or for the mix-up. But again, I did not feel comfortable with the road improvements being under the umbrella of the bike lane. So anyway, I just wanted to make a note on that. So let's pay attention to the unincorporated areas as well that are in desperate need of safer roadways. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We'll now move on to the OMA update. Clint, please go ahead. You're up there.
Good morning. So unfortunately, Maria, our director of mega projects, is out today sick. It's filling, but we got Andrea Hoff and Sue Heaney here who will give an overview of the Otay Mesa East Port of Entry project, kind of where we're at, what the current direction is, and then there is a request to approve the award of the next package, which is the NAI or non-intrusive inspection package for the technology that goes into the Otay Mesa East Port of Entry project. So they'll hand it over to Andrea.
I think also just Andrea's getting ready to start. The strategy on the OME project, it's been ongoing for 2 decades almost now. It's to always manage and reduce the exposure for the agency, as well as to deliver the project. So the phasing approach that you will see, we think achieves that, especially at these times where the markets are a little bit unstable. So that's where the team is going to be coming up on the update and the strategy that they're pursuing. So I just wanted to put a big picture of, what are our goals is managing risk in delivering a project.
Thank you very much. My name is Andrea Hoff. I'm the Border Region Delivery Manager in the Mega Projects Department, working on Otay Mesa East Port of Entry. With me, as you know, Clint Daniels, our Senior Director of Capital Project Delivery, and Suhasini Natarajan, our Principal ITS Engineer. We'll start with a brief project status. The project is currently under construction. We've began construction in November of last year. We're currently working on the first construction package, which consists of retaining walls, deep utilities, and fine grading. You can see an image of a large retaining wall there to the left. There has been the need to relocate the burrowing owl, and you can see a picture of that little creature there as well. We've worked with the zoo to relocate 15 of those, and of course Caltrans. We're also in the midst of our technology package, which is the subject of the request today, and currently negotiating the second construction package. This is as a result of our delivery method, which is the construction manager general contractor delivery method, which enables these construction phasing to occur. And we're looking to request an award of that contract in July. And the focus of the second construction package, which I'll talk a little bit more about, are the northbound passenger vehicle facilities. Here are additional photographs of some of the construction activities underway. We have our field office set up, which we are able to now occupy. You can see some of the installation of those deep utilities. In addition, we have ongoing binational collaboration. We continue to collaborate on defining the ITS work and tolling, which consists of components on both sides of the border. Just a couple weeks ago, we met on the other side of the border to conduct a topographic survey of the infrastructure that was built to support the ITS, and you'll see images from that site visit there. In the upper right is really an illustration of the fine facility that has been constructed and completed on the Mexico side. We're also working on developing an operations and maintenance agreement with Mexico for the ITS components. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about construction phasing. Last fall, when we came to the board to approve the beginning of construction, we reported that we were working on a plan on how to phase construction to accelerate delivery of the project. We've concluded that we should proceed with the construction of the northbound facility focused on passenger vehicle, which includes components that support both the cargo northbound and passenger northbound components of the project. Some of those dual use components include a utility corridor that you see highlighted in orange, as well as the main building head house, that structure in the center of the diagram, which supports both cargo and passenger facilities. The slide here illustrates the scope of this potential construction package. Here's really why we think this is the best approach at this time. It allows us to accelerate the overall delivery by using known available funds and to completely fund and get one component of this facility open. This will create the proof of concept needed to help finance the rest of the POE, because we can start collecting fees and demonstrate the demand that this project will generate. This will benefit, we think, the future bond sale, as it would not have to rely solely on traffic and revenue and ratings from rating agencies, but in addition, an active open portion of the project. This approach also allows us to fully fund a component with existing funds, thus reducing financial exposure to the agency. In conclusion, the proposed actions will accelerate an open to traffic date and facilitate the future sale of bonds to build the rest of the project. A very important point to highlight here in these graphs you see is that the passenger facility is a third of the cost of the port of entry, while simultaneously it is anticipated to bring 2/3 of the project revenue. This slide illustrates a schedule which shows the delivery of phase 1 in dark blue. Also, you can see a phase 2, which would be relying on 2 grants that we are currently pursuing. And finally, phase 3, which would be funded with bonds as shown in the bottom. This is the most optimistic scenario that shows a bond sale sometime in 2027. But right now we're focusing on a bond sale happening after phase 1 opens. In the meantime, we will still be seeking indicative ratings, which is sort of the first iteration of getting ratings from the rating agencies to get a better understanding about how the rating agencies will score us and prepare adjustments on our plan to finance to be ready for a future bond sale. I'll pass it to Suhasini Natarajan now to talk about the request of the contract award for the non-intrusive inspection components.
Thank you, Andrea, and good morning, board members. I will start with providing an overview of the non-intrusive inspection technology and its significance in the project. As many of you may recall, the board authorized SANDAG to enter into agreement with our federal partners in January of last year. One of the key provisions of this agreement was that SANDAG will procure the non-intrusive inspection or NII technology for the port operations. Now, what is NII? CBP uses NII to scan all vehicles that enter the port to detect contraband, illegal items without having to unload them or manually inspect them. This ensures security, enables faster processing for CBP, improves traffic flow within the port, and increases throughput. The picture you see on the right here is one of the types of equipment that we will be procuring under this contract. As one of the ports with advanced and state-of-the-art technology, NII is a critical component. Input from the NII equipment vendor is key to completing the final design so that the supporting infrastructure, such as the conduits, the electrical connections, can be adequately designed and can be accommodated during construction. Building on that information, I will now walk through the procurement process and the selection for the technology package, which includes the NII equipment. On May 23rd of last year, the board approved the release of the solicitation to procure NII. The scope for the solicitation included furnishing, installing, integrating, and providing training and warranty, and conducting radiation modeling for non-intrusive inspection systems. The opportunity was advertised on BidNet on November 7th. The notice for the project was also sent out electronically to prospective bidders and published in newspapers. A non-mandatory pre-proposal meeting was held virtually on November 20th last year. The response period for the bids closed on February 9th, 2026. 4 firms responded to the solicitation. All 4 proposals were deemed responsive to the solicitation requirements and were sent to the evaluation committee for review and scoring. The evaluation committee consisted of 3 SANDAG staff and 1 Caltrans staff. The proposals were evaluated for best value, and some of the evaluation criteria included experience on similar projects, their proposed methodology for this project, and the cost to complete the work. We also conducted reference checks for all the proposers. The committee conducted the review and shortlisted all 4 proposers for the next stage, which was the interviews. After the interviews, the evaluation committee recommended to move forward with Smith's detection based on the final scoring. The agency conducted negotiations with Smith's detection regarding the scope, level of effort, and fee, and determined the final cost to be fair and reasonable. That completes the solicitation process, and we are now requesting your approval to award the contract. The contract presented to you today is for a total value of $47,831,000. This is within the $56 million that the board approved in May of 2025. The contract will have a term of 3 years with 2 option years to extend. And the funds for this project will come from Capital Improvement Project number 1201108. Work under this contract will also be completed in multiple phases, and it will correspond to the construction phasing that Andrea just described. So the first phase will be to provide NII equipment and associated construction for the northbound passenger vehicles. Pending approval by the board today to award the contract, the next steps will be to execute the contract agreement so the design and construction teams can collaborate with each other and with the NII vendor to execute the project successfully. Thank you. That concludes our presentation.
So Andrea, correct me if I'm wrong, this funding is coming from the federal government through the grant that we got, the $150 million grant for the project, right?
That is correct. The infra grant.
So this is federal dollars that are being used for this procurement.
Very good. All right, we'll go to public comments. Thank you so much for the presentation. It's very clear.
If you're online, please raise your hand now for public comment on item number 4. We have 3 in person and we have 3 online. First in person is Cesar Javier, followed by Truth. This is item number 4.
Thank you, SANDAG. Thank you, Engineer Peace. I have human detector. Engineer Peace, I think, is a qualified designer as far as implementing this project. From the public picture, we expect that there is some kind of lesson learned from the old or existing toll on the western side. What lesson could we incorporate with this new site or port of entry? Perhaps from the public, since this is America, what logo could we show to the entrance from the south? What logo? Perhaps modernity using green energy. Perhaps a kind of water basin catching system like Venice City, where there is a huge underground collection of water. Another point there is, you mentioned about detecting narco, money, contraband, illegal humans, whatever kind. Are these efficient and really adequate? Something like that from the perception of the public. I understand some, but the rest underneath the iceberg.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Truth, followed by allegedly Audra. This is item number 4.
Apparently, SANDAG is killing owls for Mexico. The phrase on slide 2 that says removal of border fence does not build trust with SANDAG. The pictures show a project nowhere near completion, even though it was alleged to be done by the year 2024. Where's the tech for the GHG inventory and reduction plan? Because Maria said OME will handle 12,000 cars and 1,500 diesel-powered trucks a day. This tech is really just an experiment of a project that San Diego County and the state is paying for on behalf of the federal government. So when SANDAG gives it to Trump, make sure to put a crown on top. Who was on the evaluation committee? 4.7 million to Smith's Detection. That was really the best choice because their parent company is Smith's Group PLC, based in the foreign country of Britain, who is operated in Russia through John Crane Iskra LLC, and in communist China via Huafeng Smith Interconnect, which is a communist partner, and they're made in China and Belt and Road plans, thanks to their current CEO, Roland Carter, and whose security division was bought out by British equity company CVC Capital Partners. This OME is ending up a tri-national deal with no specific revenue predictions, with multiple equity layers. Disaster is coming to SANDAG again, mark my words now. And again, this is happening while Mexico's cartel violence and their sewage pollution continues to worsen. Imperial Beach, Nestor, and Coronado are not sacrifice zones for the free trade fascism of SANDAG, the feds, and their multinational corporate cartel partners in Mexico. Because reminder, under the USMCA, 82% of Mexican imports entered our country with 0 tariffs. Why doesn't Mexico pay for this tech? They don't pay for anything. I believe in hammers, not handshakes, which includes closing this border during Mexico's sewage dumps. If you don't like that, you better move on back to the United States of America. Use this tech for sewage detection and implementation of the group Stop the Poops sewage handling infrastructure tax across all border crossings. SHIT fits OME perfectly. Prove me wrong.
Next is allegedly Audra, followed by Paula Bold online.
I don't think we need to worry about what's going on above ground. I think we need to be worrying about what's going on underground. Can this technology look at the tunnels that are being dug under the port of entry, like the other port of entry, this super tunnel that had ventilation and, you know, a track where you can just move humans and drugs back and forth. And they always go from Tijuana into Otay Mesa into those, you know, commercial areas. And so I'm wondering, if you're going to be making sure that one is not being dug right now, because I guarantee you that it is, and it's going to come out at some point, just like even the fraud that took place with the construction of the other port of entry, with theft of materials, contract and personal kickbacks, as well as bribery and theft. So I'm wondering, like, who in the government is either getting bribed or bribing and working with these contractors and whatnot to get a little bit of extra money in your pocket. But it is very concerning that there are a ton of tunnels, and we sit here and we want to be like, we really want to make sure that we're like combating the drugs and, you know, human trafficking. You guys allowed it for years when they were climbing over the wall and dying right out at, you know, Dairy Mart, you know, from a 30-foot wall, just crashing to the grounds. They were throwing babies over that too, but they're pretty resilient because, you know, once they bounce, it's like their bones are a little bit more able to handle something like that. So, you know, when you guys want to continue down this path with this charade, it's bullshit. The things that you guys do, the things that you guys ignore, and what you want to concentrate on, because you only care about the revenue, the billions of dollars that's going to be coming to and from Mexico, but you don't care about the people suffering in the Tijuana River Valley. So it's like, I mean, come on, let's be real here. And you guys are transparent. It's so sad.
Next is Paula Bold, followed by Blair Beekman online.
Thanks. Paula Bold, you haven't even begun construction on the actual facility, and the technology is sure to be out of date by the time construction is finished of the actual facility. Why not continue this item to a later meeting? Smith's Detection is based in England. One review I saw suggests poor training and support leads to customers leaving the company along with high costs. Another said engineering practices are stuck in the past. Any attempt to bring about positive change is resisted, and their equipment seems to be slow, not good for a busy port of entry. The review says Smith's detection machines are slow as molasses. SFO recently installed Smith's Detection, and holy shit, are those things slow. Everything from automated conveyor belts to actual scan takes forever. Lord have mercy if your bag goes for secondary screening. Half the time it just didn't scan right and they have to feed it in again. Now you have time. You need to find a company that makes better equipment, or you'll end up causing all the travel delays and congestion that you want to avoid. The presentation. Thanks for including. So, you want to fund construction of just one building. Maybe you can get a loan from Mexico, so they won't laugh as much. Slide 5 seems to show the freeway ending with one lane continuing in OME facility and one lane not linked to a new road.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Blair Beekman, followed by Consuelo.
Hi, Blair Beekman. To first offer a real good luck that it's my understanding that Transnet funding can be very malleable, and that along with state grant funding, it can really help serve rate increases for like the next 6 months if needed. It can be a resource. Good luck in better accountability with Transnet at this time and with the downtown Imperial Avenue bikeway project. It's a really important project. Good luck we do it well. To mention on this item, I mentioned at a recent SANDAG meeting the importance of working towards good technology practices. Mr. Javier offered what can we offer on this side of the border for the future of that area? Technology, accountability with technology. I think that's an awesome example. We don't know how to talk about biometric technology in the public space. There's going to be a ton of biometric tech involved there. And it would be a perfect opportunity that with as much biometric tech is going to be on our future transit systems, it's already there. Why don't we learn to make that conversation more regular and public and available? The county of Santa Clara, they were the first in the country to do the tech surveillance ordinance things. Second, maybe. They wouldn't do ordinance issues for their cameras in their jail system because of the biometric tech. They didn't want to talk about it. Over time, they learned to trust that it can be a part of an open policy system. We can do the same, and we can teach the federal government the same. And Mario is working on that, actually. He wants, better relationships and openness with federal government agencies. So we have a really important job to do with the tech in the area, and we have the skills to do it. Let's do it, guys, really.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Our last public comment on this item is Consuelo. Go ahead, Consuelo. Consuelo, you seem to be self-muted.
Okay, here we go. Consuelo here, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello. Okay. Regarding this item, ditto to all the previous statements. And, I just want to say there are only a handful of people who are paying attention and speak at these meetings. It becomes pretty frustrating because we are taking the time out to prepare speeches only to be cut off mid-sentence, not even given the decency to finish our sentence. Not only is it disrespectful to the public, it's belittling. Also, if a hand is raised in the queue while the item is still being commented on or discussed, it should be honored. I mean, that's the decent thing to do. And people have to continue on with their lives again while taking the time out to make an effort to listen in. So with that being said, Michael, I want to apologize if what I said hurt your feelings. That was not my intention, for paying attention to these boring meetings. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I'm done.
That concludes our public comment on this item, Chair.
Very good. We'll move to member comments. Councilmember Moreno, you're first.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and also congratulations to all the staff working on this very complicated and delicate project. Congratulations on the infra grant. I know those are hard-fought funds. Whether we like it or not, Mexico is our #1 trading partner, not only for the state of California, but for the whole nation. And Otay Mesa is the second most important commercial crossing of our nation. So building a second commercial crossing is, I believe, very warranted. $60 billion of commerce currently crosses Otay Mesa. I happen to represent Otay Mesa for the city of San Diego, so I know that this is a very vital project that is welcoming to our whole region, our state, and our nation. We do not want 4,000 cars idling in Tijuana or the United States for 3-4 hours a day. I've been a part of the United States side of fixing this issue with expanding La Media Road in Otay Mesa. So we don't have 4,000 semi-trucks idling any given day for 3-4 hours. Very happy with that. I'm very happy to support this effort and move staff's recommendation on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Councilmember Gasterlin. Would you like to second that?
Yes, I will second. And I'd like to pose some questions to make sure that, mostly to just make sure of process and understand how Smith's detection was vetted as qualified. So here are the questions. So first, this is one of my favorite SANDAG projects because this really is an example of SANDAG making a difference, not only for our region, but for California and for our nation. The freight that's going to be automated across this border crossing is incredible. And that's why I'm extremely supportive of moving this forward and doing what we need. So here are the questions. So I'm going to frame it. When I build a high-performance computing system at the San Diego Supercomputer Center, which is something I've done 3 times, I look at all the providers that are out there. I look at their capacity, their performance, how well they're able to move data from one place to the next quickly. I look at a lot of metrics. And when I look at something like Smith's Detection's website and I see their installations, it makes me think about building a system of that sort because they have equipment that is working together with computers and all sorts of image processing. This is an incredible opportunity for AI-based image processing and detection. And I really hope that Smith's Detection is going to put us on a path to be able to take advantage of all of the new methods that are going to be coming down the pike, in the next 5 years. So here are the questions. What is the track record of Smith's with delivery of a system of this scale? Delivery of this technology. We've run into problems with the toll road software, so I really would hope we're not going to run into problems with software here. The staff report says we went through the standard evaluation process. And so I'd like a little bit of a sketch of what the standard process is for a high-tech, important, critical technology provider like this, in an area where, this is not SANDAG's expertise. Who evaluated the provider? And did they provide to us in their application or their response to the bid, did they provide references of other clients, examples of other installations, performance metrics of their equipment, comparison of their system's performance with other providers? Did they build a model, a computational model of the Otay Mesa East installation and demonstrate metrics and specifications such as capacity, volume, and speed of scanning? And many, many years ago, I worked at Texas Instruments and I wrote software, AI-based software in the 90s to configure process control systems given specifications. So this is something that is very standard when you're, for example, building a Campbell's soup factory floor. So I would hope that these things have been done, that Smith's is capable of doing it, and that they told us in their bid how they would go about doing it.
As Andrea and Sue are getting ready to answer, I do want to put in perspective that we're kind of piggybacking this whole procurement on Homeland Security, meaning that not anybody can just go and put in for this job. It had to be based on all the specifications were actually developed for non-intrusive inspections is for Homeland Security. They're the ones who are going to own and operate this system. We are implementing and building a port of entry to give it to the federal government. So all this technology is being based on the co-design with CBP and Homeland Security. And the team has more, and they have all the security clearances. But it is, SANDAG did not develop the specifications of this type of equipment. This goes through a much more rigorous effort that Homeland Security has been working through the years. The team has actually gone and visited some of the smart centers where, yes, AI is being used. I don't think we're allowed to tell you all the details, but AI is heavily used on the images. The team went to Brownsville where the first pilot was done. I also went to Brownsville separately to look at it. So team, if you want to answer the questions.
Yes, thank you. Excellent questions, and we're happy to provide additional information. I'll start and pass it to Suhasini, our really one of our experts in this area. We've all had to become somewhat of semi-experts, not having done this before. The specifications for the technology come directly from Customs and Border Protection, and those were a critical component of the request for proposals. The vendors also needed to submit their non-disclosure agreements, which is typical. The vendor pool is quite narrow and quite competitive. We are confident that we got those vendors that are capable of doing this work, and each of them has had experience working directly with Customs and Border Protection, including Smith's Detection. The standard evaluation process you have a very good point, this was not typical, but the steps that we followed with our contracts and procurement department, having the evaluation committee, and the various steps that we took are part of the standard process that SANDAG follows. One key element, while we did not have Customs and Border Protection participate on our evaluation panel, we did have them on standby so that we could funnel any technical questions to them anonymized so that they weren't exposed to the vendor specific information. They did not want to influence our decision, but were very ready and willing to accept whichever vendor that we felt was most qualified, given that it is a narrow field and they have experience with all of them. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Suhasini to go through a few of the more technical elements of our contract, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all of your questions.
Thanks, Andrea. I think Andrea covered it pretty comprehensively. I'll just add a few notes here. When we put out the solicitation, it included a functional requirements document, which is prepared by Homeland Security /CBP. And the functional requirements document was edited to meet the needs for Otay Mesa East project. So we marked up what is applicable, what is needed for this project, and we wanted the bidders to respond to those requirements. And we reviewed those edits with CBP prior to advertising to make sure that we are capturing what is being planned for this project. And there was a question about references. One of the qualifications needed for the bidders to respond to the solicitation was to have to give us examples of work that they performed, not in the last 10 years, but in the recent 5 years or 3 years. So it is not too outdated. So we have references, and they were also asked to provide contacts that we can reach out to ask questions about their prior performance, their work quality, and get their input on any concerns, any positive feedback. We did that for all full 4 bidders. That was also factored into the scoring for evaluation. And I don't know if I can maybe for Smith's detection, I can disclose that the references came out very positive and they scored very high in our reference checks. Did they build a model? So the functional requirements is the first step to make sure that the system can be put together. And then as we work with them, we will be doing factory acceptance tests where they will demonstrate how the equipment will work. There will be live tests. And also CBP is willing to accompany us to these tests to make adjustments, give input on how these systems can be modified based on what they see at the accepted factory tests, which is the industry standard practice.
Yeah. So is there any comparison across systems, to see whose equipment is faster? There are thresholds that they must meet, but at the same time, being able to improve their equipment over time, revise it, what kind of comparative analysis is done?
So we don't have access to the data that CBP is the holder of data. Like Mario mentioned, it is sensitive information, so we don't have access to it. But through our questions through the references and sharing the information on the hardware that's being proposed and the software that's being proposed, we have received enough confidence that all of the systems perform or at the minimum meet the minimum requirements. And I think I missed one of the questions. What is their track record? So their most recent installation that was accepted without any issues by CBP was at Gordie Howe Bridge in the US-Canada border, which is the new border crossing. They also have done work in Laredo and Peace Bridge, the team.
So basically, council member, the clientele basis is CBP. That is the track record. And if there would have been an issue, CBP would have either directly or indirectly called us and say, no go. In Gordie Howe is the biggest border project in the northern border. We've been competing with them since 2008 because they also been pursuing their project, Michigan, the state of Michigan together on the Gordie Howe one. We actually helped them taught them how to get a presidential permit in 2008. So those are pretty big projects. Laredo is the busiest cargo facility in the southern border. So also CBP will not put any marbles on their most busiest cargo facility in the southern border. That leads us to believe, and CBP is comfortable with the decision of the company. And from a modeling perspective, it's more the specifications had the speed of the images to be generated that get sent to the smart center that then they all get overlaid to get analyzed by AI.
Great. Well, with that, I'm satisfied that we here at SANDAG have done everything we can, that this company has a track record. So I feel satisfied with this, and I'm prepared to vote yes on this.
Councilmember Fisher.
Thank you, Chair. Again, I'm with Councilmember Gatchlin. This is always one of my favorite subjects to talk about. My feelings go from time to time from being mixed. I'm glad to see the project moving forward. It was mentioned in the presentation that phase 1 is going to be opening up the northbound passenger lanes. Is this something new? Because I don't remember hearing this before.
Yes, the idea, as Andrea was putting out, it will cost 1/3 of the project, which is the cash in hand, and it would generate 2/3 of the revenue. So what it would do, it will help us to delay bonding and basically open the facility with the cash in hand. And that's what we're presenting to the CTC. And thank you for Caltrans for all that support. That reduces the risk at this time of going for an early bonding. And it provides that baseline. Once we open up, it provides that we start generating real data of revenues and volumes that will most probably line us up for a better bonding deal. Because right now, because this project is so unique, it's similar to the Gordie Howe, the bonding would have been based on traffic and revenue projections, not an actual baseline. So this would allow us to open up a facility at 1/3 of the cost, the portion, generate 2/3 of the revenues, start setting the historical revenues, and line us up better for the future bonding effort. So it's again to reduce the exposure and the risk for the agency and expedite the delivery.
No, I think it's a great plan for us because just to your point, Mario, it does provide some revenue coming in, helps us build for the future. Now on to what's at hand. So the technologies can be installed. Is it just one building's worth with a few lanes, or is it for all lanes?
This project, the plan is to have the non-intrusive inspection pre-primary, so before vehicles encounter the first CBP officer. No port, although it's a goal of CBP, no port yet has that implemented. So we're anticipating each lane to have the technology.
Because I know that the big long-term project plan is to have a huge expansion on the from the first lanes coming in. What is that going to be? Is it going to be scalable? I know that's a time that's going to be well off from now, but is it scalable for this company to be able to do that? And integration is always tricky, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed. And the project is being designed to be scalable, both with regard to the physical infrastructure and the ability to add additional equipment to that physical infrastructure.
Great. No, that handled all my questions. I was concerned about, smooth detection being approved in all the security efforts, but the questions were answered quite well for previously. So again, I'm grateful to have the project move forward. This is historical projects, not only for the San Diego County, not for SANDAG, but for the region. And of course, my pitch is always that, as the binational conversations happen, this is a project that's happening on the border. And I think the relationships are good, but, the continued focus for them on the positive is great, but they also have to focus on their responsibility for the negative and what they're doing to pollute the South County of San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Ehlers.
Yeah, I had very similar questions to Councilmember Gaskerlin's. And as I understand it, we got the funding, the grant funding, and then ultimately we're going to deed this back to the federal government for operations. So I'm looking at this, what's the risk, the SANDAG, that we do something that we end up being liable for it. And so I really appreciate the understanding, the little more detail. I would have liked to have seen that discussion in the staff report, quite frankly. I think that's our issue here. That's what we're talking about. So going forward, I would like that. On the evaluation, I want to go a little deeper. On the evaluation team, what we have is a semi-secret. They can't divulge certain things. There's a functional spec. Yet we're evaluating to that functional spec. How do we have the expertise to properly evaluate the bid? If, as you said, I think you said that CDP was not on the evaluation, did we bring in any experts to augment our team that doesn't normally do this kind of work in order to properly technically evaluate the bid to the functional spec?
Thank you for your question. We were working with CBP indirectly. So we did have technical questions, not only in preparation of developing the RFP and needing to understand the technical aspects of the technology, but we also have experts in this area on our design team. So we currently have a design team working with our contractor. The contractor has experience installing and building ports of entry, and our design team has specific folks that were, able to assist SANDAG staff in getting up to speed with how this technology would work for a couple of years. While we invited CBP to participate on the panel, I think given that they don't own this yet, it's not really their procurement, and they have their own procurement methods, they felt more comfortable to not influence. I mean, it's a very competitive procurement, but we had them available to answer any technical questions. And we did have technical questions. So we would get the information from our interviews and relay those questions directly to CBP and then receive answers if needed, as needed. I'm going to let Suha elaborate if I missed anything there.
No, I think Andrea covered it. So in preparation to putting together the solicitation documents, we did a lot of homework with the design team, with the experts who are designing the system around it, who are designing accounting for what the NII equipment would need. The design team has folks who specialize in that type of work. So there was a lot of information exchange we had to get up to speed with them. We also had many discussions with CBP on what is it that they would need to operate the port. One, if I have to get into the weeds, I can say, do you need an undercarriage scanning system? So we went through the entire requirements documentation with them to see what is it that they need. And through that process, we learned a lot. Like Andrea mentioned, it was a learning process for us too. And we made sure that we captured everything. And whenever we had documentation to compare and contrast. And like I mentioned before, one of the key criteria for us was that they have completed similar work. They have supplied this equipment for CBP, not any other border, specifically in the US land border, not even airports. So we made sure that they provided us examples of land border implementations that we could go back and check and ask more questions about.
Oh, okay. So, Andrea, you mentioned something about a contractor helping evaluate. No.
No,
What did I
excuse me.
catch?
I may have confused you there. What I meant, what I am stating is that we are working with our construction contractor simultaneously with our design team to negotiate and implement construction packages. And they have excellent experience. We're a collaborative group, but the evaluation of the NII equipment did not include any consultant participation. It was SANDAG and Caltrans staff.
So if I look at the process of we're getting money, we're committing that money to Smith Detection, and then we're going to have it installed while we still own it. Then we're going to run, and I heard acceptance testing. Who is the expert that knows the system well enough to run that acceptance testing?
CBP. So CBP, U.S. Customs Border Protection.
So they will be involved now in, well, that's very helpful. So if Smith Detection does not perform, and the reason I'm asking this is I'm going back to the tolling system experience and which I didn't have to live through, but I can see from afar what happened. And I want to make sure that our liability, we're minimizing and understanding all the way along this value chain. And so if during CDP's acceptance testing as really the true final customer, something goes wrong, I suppose it's in the contract then that we go back to Smith Detection. Is that, am I understanding that correctly? That are we ultimately liable for and I'm going to be kind of a very high level, a poor choice in vendors?
If the vendor has, CBP has a acceptance criteria, think like a checklist of things that they look for when they agree to approve the system to operate. If any of the tests criteria fail, they will be asked to cure it and redo the acceptance. So until an official acceptance from CBP is not cleared, that the onus will be on the vendor to meet those criteria.
Good. And that helps me immensely. And I'm going to assume that all the contractual requirements are in our contracts with Smith Detection and whatever we have from CDP as agreement. So then the last area is just making sure viability. It's $47 million, right? It's 4% of our budget. It's big. I was a little disappointed also that there was no discussion of the recent sale of Smith Detection to CVC Capital Partners, and no discussion of whether that would have any sort of financial impact on Smith Detection's capability or focus on meeting this contract. I understand they have a history of doing stuff, but they just sold in December. In fact, it's not closed yet, but there was no discussion of that whatsoever. And anytime I'm doing a major purchase of a system like what Councilwoman Gasterlin said, I always look at the financials of the company because I've had them go sideways. So any impact has anybody looked at what the sale to CVC and the potential impact to Smith Detection is?
Contracts? Have you guys, I don't think we have tracked that, to be quite honest, Mayor. And contracts, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but we just went basically with the pool, because it's so limited, the pool that can actually do this equipment. We're kind of following CBP's Homeland Security prompts on that. I clearly understand the question.
It's one of the pool, but the others didn't have that potentially. It sounds like it wasn't taken into consideration.
The team wants to.
So
Luckily, CVC is a very large private equity firm, so.
we did receive financial documents and those are reviewed. We coordinate with our financial team to review those documents. That information was not disclosed to us. So if that's something the board is interested in, we could definitely look into it more.
We should know. I mean, I looked a little last night and, certainly CVC is one of the large ones. They're a British based private equity, but I'm no financial expert. So with that, I'll yield.
Thank you, Mayor Jones.
Thank you. I have a quick question. Thank you for the presentation, and I think I'm really glad to see that we're moving forward on this. I did see something on page 6 of the presentation that I do have a question about, and it shows that our passenger revenue is at about 64%. And what my question is, do we have any studies or have we looked into how that might affect our local workforce, whether it be expats or, if people are paying to come across, passengers, does that mean that our workers are going to have to pay when they're coming from Mexico, whether they're Americans living in Mexico or Mexican citizens that are working here? That's my question. I just don't know. You're looking at me like I'm off the reservation.
I'm trying to understand the question. This is a managed facility. Yes. It's going to be, the tolls are where the calculations are based on a traffic and revenue study that was done and is being updated, investment grade. This entire facility is going to be tolled. What we have seen is that when this facility goes online, it's also going to reduce the wait times on the free facilities. I don't know if that answers the question. Everybody who will be using this facility would be told, and it's their decision, if they want to use it or they want to use Otay or San Isidro. Andrea, I don't know if you have.
I could add a little bit of context. The investment grade traffic and revenue study has a large survey component, and that establishes people's value of time. So people are asked what they would be willing to pay in order to save time. And so in the end, it's balanced out, and it appears that folks are definitely willing to pay extra for that reliability and for that time savings in order to cross the border.
Yes, and that's kind of what I was thinking is, did we take into account, which it sounds like we have based on your comments, as how much workers are willing to pay, and that we're not going to have it like, $8 and they're willing to pay, $2 each time.
No, the willingness to pay has been done. You, the board, will be deciding what are the rates. The team will be coming up with some proposals, but the board, when this facility is getting ready to be online. The board is the one who's going to set up the toll ranges. There's going to be a range. There's going to be a traffic and revenue study updated every 2 years to propose adjustments based on values of time and weights. But yeah, the willingness to pay has been calculated. Unofficially, there is an express lane in San Isidro that Tijuana has, and it's pretty high in price. But we went and looked at the studies that normally traffic and revenues studies does and did the surveys for calculating that value of time. It's going around a little bit less than minimum wage right now for the equivalent of the hour of savings that could be.
So how are we getting the data from the folks that are coming across the border northbound already? Do we have like a QR code or something that's easy for them to, we want your feedback, we need your feedback sort of thing, or how's that working?
So the survey, the large survey that contributed to our study, while we're updating the numbers now, the large survey component was completed. There's some interesting methods that the survey team does to gather that information. Written survey. It was a while back. I wasn't at SANDAG when that was conducted. Wait times is another component of that, and a sticker will be placed on the car. And then once it advances, you can kind of clock that time. So a variety of survey methods. I am not sure if a QR code was included back then. I could definitely find out. We have the methods of that survey documented.
Okay. So I guess I would just say when this comes back to us, you know, when we're imposing a fee, it's a new facility and, you know, so it does have to pay for itself. I'm in favor of that. I guess I would just want the information, the full information, maybe updated so that we are aware of who's coming across and what they're coming across for, because I really would hate to see if we hurt our workforce here and how, you know, I think with every choice that we make, there's always an unintended consequence. And so what are the potential unintended consequences and how can we mitigate that as much as possible?
And it's being updated right now, the
Perfect.
traffic and revenue study.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Councilmember Shin.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. Just a comment, a quick question. So just a comment, I think it is imperative that we have some decent disclosures about which contractors we're using, especially if there's going to be gaps of information that we're not able to be provided. I will say with Smith's detection, it is good to know that they're in 47 of the top 50 airports in America, which kind of gives some validity. And then I just looked up in Laredo, Texas, like 4 days ago, they did a $3 million seizure using what they had called a non-invasive vehicle search. So I'm assuming that that's what this is. So the proof is probably in the pudding there. On slide 9, can we quickly shift to that real quick? This is ticky-tacky, but kind of not, just because my brain works with numbers more than people sometimes. I just want to make sure we're approving for 47.831 million, correct? And then all our documentations show it that way? Okay, because that's a big difference. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Typo, yes. Thanks. Vice Chair LaCava.
You wouldn't be up for 47 billion. Thank you for the work that you did to bring this forward in the presentation. I want to thank my colleagues who can balance the importance of the overall project with the due diligence of these individual decisions that we're going to have to make. I think I only have one question inspired by the questions and the responses by colleagues about where CBP actually fits in. They obviously had hands off during the RFP. They gave us specifications to use to do the RFP process. And then if I understood correctly, and I may not, that they come in at the end and saying, okay, SANDAG says, here's the finished product. Do you accept it? They're going to run some kind of tests to see it meets their criteria. I'm kind of curious about in between about whether CBP is kind of providing some kind of support to SANDAG in its management of the construction. I don't know how you design this kind of thing and build this kind of thing, but that expertise at CBP so that they're actually kind of side by side with us to Mayor Ayler's question about the liability or the risk that SANDAG is going to incur. So does CBP actually stand side by side with us during the design and construction component of this?
I will try to answer that question. Yes, the answer is yes. We are already working with the NII division at CBP headquarters. We are working with their field operations team. We have been discussing about the control room, and one CBP just wanted to be hands off during the selection process, but they have what they call the onboarding process. So once we tell them who the vendor is going to be, they have a series of, we will have a kickoff with CBP. CBP will be present during design throughout. We will be getting input from them on how they want the analyst areas, command center.
Okay.
So all of that, we will be working with CBP. And there is also another important component of radiation modeling for these equipment. And there is CBP, we need CBP and the radiation safety officer to bless us. And that cannot wait until the end. They do pre and post. So all those processes, we will be working with CBP. That's the
Okay. I thought that might be the case, but I just kind of wanted to hear it directly. So that should help in terms of our responsibility in terms of managing the contract process, managing the costs that go along with it. What do we do when construction changes might happen or design changes might happen? So I'm glad to see that they're side by side with us through the entire process, and say ultimately you have to accept it and then operate it when it's all done. So
Andrea, do you want to give them like a little example, not just on technology, but also infrastructure of how the team is structured, CBP project managers, general service project managers, Caltrans project managers, and technologies?
I mean, Andrea, you can go into some of the details you want, but just in general, like Mario mentioned, it's a very integrated team, and even out there in construction right now, both GSA and CBP have an on-site person in our field office. They're there every day. All the meetings with the designer, the contractor, all the subs, GSA, every piece of paper, whether it's the foundation we're doing, the electrical lines, the drainage things, are all reviewed by everybody, which yes, impacts the timelines at some points, but everybody's on board before anything ever gets out and actually constructed in the field.
okay, we're going to project manage the heck out of this. Is that what you're saying? All right, that was the one piece that I wanted to focus on. So thank you very much for the work.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you, Clint and Andrea and Suhasini. We really appreciate your very thorough responses. And thank you to the board for very appropriate delving questions. I think that this has given us all a lot of confidence that this is going to be a much better experience than we have seen in the past, which at this point we have a motion by Moreno and a second by Gasterlin. Please vote. Those who push their buttons, please push them again. We were a little bit too soon. Push them again. There you go. Carlsbad.
Councilmember Shin.
Okay, that passes unanimously. We'll now move to the fiscal year 2026 vacancies, recruitment and retention efforts. Josh.
Good morning. I am Joshua Golter, your Director of Human Resources, and I am presenting the annual update on vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts. The data in this report reflects FY 2026 year-to-date through March 27th of 2026. This timing is intentional to allow the HR team sufficient time to validate and ensure reporting accuracy. The agency reduced the vacancy rate from 13.77% down to 12% over the past year, which is a meaningful improvement. Of the 56 vacancies, 21 are in various stages of recruitment. Attrition is 11% year to date, and we are anticipating closing the fiscal year at approximately 13 to 14%. This rate is consistent with last year, and the agency is sustaining the lowest attrition rates it has had over the past 5 years. Regarding our recruitment activities, the agency received about 5,000 applications, held 270 screenings and interviews, and onboarded 55 new employees during that time. We are seeing a significant increase in highly qualified candidate applications from both the federal government and the public sector. Both areas are experiencing heightened uncertainty, increased layoffs, and reduced open jobs, which we believe is driving more candidates to explore opportunities in local government public service. At this time, we understand this is also a factor in the agency's reduced attrition rate. We continue to leverage LinkedIn and other job boards such as governmentjobs.com, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and our NeoGov applicant tracking system to improve candidate quality and accelerate hiring. We are also sustaining outreach through 100+ community and institutional partnerships that share our job postings across the communities we serve. With respect to retention, the agency maintains competitive compensation and strong benefits package offerings. We will be launching an employee engagement survey in June to identify what is working well and where we can improve. The results of that survey will be reviewed with leadership, and action plans will be developed in early 2027 with clear ownership and follow-through expectations. We are also actively addressing gaps in our standard operating procedures, policies, and employee development to maintain effectiveness despite attrition. In closing, attrition remains manageable, and we will continue to make deliberate steps to strengthen our foundation and ensure continuity, consistency, and accountability. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks, Josh. We'll go to public comments first. Michael?
Yes, if you're if you're online and want to make a comment on this item, please raise your hand now. So we have 3 in person and 3 online. First is Cesar Javier, followed by Truth. This is item number 5.
Cesar and Purita. Seniors with existing medical condition. We have been examining documents after documents, meetings after meetings from SANDAG, County, Air Pollution Control District, City Hall, smelling urine. That's a citation by Air Pollution Control District. And of course, SANDAG. Thank you, SANDAG. We are learning. This is a very important item for discussion because the strength of a chain is the weakest link. And that weakest link is the 10 fingers intelligences that must be in the human applicant. Where is environmentalist expert? How many applicants do we have, sir? Because it is a vital contribution into whatever elements in urban planning is concerned. We are dealing just on mobility, transportation, etc., and we see the weakness. You know, when you are running for a political position, we do not scrutinize not much on your qualification or intelligence. You should just be a high school graduate, period. But SANDAG requires...
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Truth, followed by allegedly Audra. This is item number 5.
Hey, Ron. Overall today, I've been very unsatisfied on the multiple instances of a lack of transparency. Transparency deficiency is still a problem at this agency. This item, I didn't see it until Wednesday. Was that an act to make it look like SANDAG needs more staff? Because those games don't work with me. Late attachments just tell me that somebody's either really inept at their job or they're just trying to manipulate opinions. So right at the beginning, staff have already failed at this item, and it's clear that the only help they need is the implementation of that long overdue training that this board approved of at the April 10th meeting, costing the county an additional $5 million with no actual breakdown or justification. And I'm just like assuming, does the 5 million mean the Building Construction Trades Council gets to train SANDAG employees how to scam the taxpayer since they're experts at it? For vacancies, how about erasing all past mentions of racist DIE as a SANDAG agenda? Because based on the evidence, it certainly didn't bring anybody good here. If anything, that worthless program contributed to SANDAG's corruption. For recruitment, you need more people like Antoinette, Susan, and Goldie who properly explain what the heck is going on at this agency, rather than playing the obfuscation game or the personal or political agenda game like other employees have. Does SANDAG reach out to public transit users for recruitment? You know, the people who wait forever to get nowhere fast and nowhere safely, yet you continue to push that form of transportation. 56 vacancies. How about just leaving the majority of the positions vacant? Because this is a bloated agency that has produced zero tangible results, even at its biggest bloat during 2019 to 2023. SANDAG needs to cut the fat, aka our tax dollars, and use what's left for the safety and congestion projects that have been sitting for 30 years. That's like Lauren Cazares. That's a long time. But I'm going to say, Rebecca and Bruce, you did the best job today for sure. Judy, I guess you too. I enjoyed listening to you speak. I was trying not to smile and give it away that I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Next is allegedly Audra, followed by Paul the Bold online. This is item number 5.
Yes, thank you. SANDAG needs a diet. I don't think we need to be hiring more people to be wasting more of our money when you guys are just totally trying to control our movements and, you know, engaging in fraud, waste, and abuse, going and, you know, contracting with entities that have a monopoly on investments like BlackRock. I mean, you know, it's like people sit here and they're like, we don't want billionaires to be doing all these things, but like we're only going to look at some of them. You know, you guys hate Trump. Well, I mean, he's his financial advisor, Larry Fink, for BlackRock. So it's like, I'm just wondering why we're content giving all of our information to companies like this, that even the audit company entity, the Tyler Technologies, BlackRock, Vanguard, and we're just handing them over all this stuff, right? So then when they really want to bring the government to its knees, they can do it lickety split. Just weird that you guys think about some things and not other things, and that you don't have people that go in and look at like who you're contracting with and how like this new entity, Smiths, was bought out. I mean, you wouldn't know it because they didn't change their name, you know, and they probably won't, but that's how they kind of do it. They got to keep people thinking that they're doing the same thing and they're going to bait and switch. And it's like, you know, we're giving them all of our biometrics with this AI stuff and the data that you guys want to collect on the people. We're just handing it over to them. How cool is that to hand it over to people that have pretty much all the assets in their pocket? So smart. I mean, it's like it couldn't be more intelligent, I feel like. I mean, you guys should get a raise for doing that. I'm sure you get kickbacks in some way for doing it. Or are you just that ignorant? Are you guys that stupid? Right? Because you're looking at me like a deer in headlights. What is she talking about? Oh my gosh, this is so weird. Let's just worry about Trump. Right? Very nefarious. Very. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves.
Next is Paul the Bold online, followed by Blair Beekman. This is item 5.
Okay, DHS vetting directors for non-intrusive inspections. What a joke. So, SANDAG has 56 vacancies, but over 4,000 applications. You need a better checklist of requirements. Maybe you'll realize you don't need them at all. Make the process quicker. One of the vacancies may be for a report writer who can actually write reports on time. Maybe the new generation of report writers doesn't know how to virtue signal, or maybe agree that it doesn't belong in honest and open dialogue. Hope you can deal with this in a forthright manner. But seriously, there are some holdovers at SANDAG from the quote old order who seem to be doing the wrong thing, getting you stuck on unrealistic budgets, contracting mess ups and excesses, insufficient transparency, and so on. We need a SANDAG that works for the whole county more than ever. With all of the coming financial and other challenges, new, fresh, and innovative ideas brought by new staffers. So I hope that this is what these R&R efforts are focused on. Maybe you can fill some of these vacancies with members of this board who would then have the advantage of experiencing staff work from a new angle. Thanks.
Our next public comment is Blair Beekman, followed by Consuelo.
Hi, thank you, Blair Beekman. Yeah, sorry for my final words in the previous public comment. I'm sorry I said come on. I shouldn't have said those words. It sounds uncomfortable to me now. And thank you very much to Council Board Person Moreno, who wisely mentioned that I think the best practices that we can offer, like with tech accountability issues at the border, can be of great service to Mexico itself and develop much better conversations and on a number of issues. So good luck on best practices with tech. With Mexico. Yeah, with that said, with this new, what you're asking how people can be employed in the future of SANDAG and its procurement process. In San Jose, where I was living previously, I mean, they were making the efforts that and how they hired their future tech personnel, that they have a background in public dialogue, and that they have a focus in relationships with the public. We have to really acknowledge that our tech future is not an issue of national security imperatives that is meant to keep the process secretive from the everyday public and community. We have a really specific goal to make technology a more and more open process and clear and a democratic process and a shared process to define public safety. Community and our public safety, it's intertwined, and for it, so our future, employees have to be accountable to the public, and the way tech accountability works, it can help many other fields develop more open, accountable practices. I mean, all the stuff we're talking about in accountability today, tech accountability can have a major help with. So I hope lessons can be learned, and that it's an effort of learning to work with the public more to be an important procurement.
Thank you. Your time has expired. Next is Consuelo, followed by our last public comment, Andrea Ebbing. Go ahead, Consuelo.
Okay, Consuelo here. So amen to Audra, especially. I like that diet part and a detox, I'd add. They don't know, yeah, and just to respond to what you said, yeah, they don't know what you're talking about because they're all just doing their jobs, trying to climb the political ladder backwards, down to the bottom, where the other bottom feeders in politics who continue to assist in enslaving the people struggling to survive the system.
This is item 5.
They help keep afloat. Yep. Okay. 5, reporting accuracy is what was said, right? Yeah, nice. If only this was really the case. It feels like SANDAG is always taking the most time and money in fixing things that continue to go wrong. It's broken, so stop trying to fix it. One of the guys stated he prefers working with numbers better than with humans. Yeah. That says a lot. I feel really good hearing that. That's not good. That's not okay. Your guys' job is to work with the public and to be there in service to the public. And hearing people say things like that, no bueno. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Last public comment is Andrea Ebbing. This is item 5.
Hi, it's Andrea Ebbing. I think 56 openings, that's a lot of openings for SANDAG. Hopefully we don't come up with a plan to just slide over Gloria's firings into those positions because we know that those are really dirty people. I think what we should do is take a note from the RICO enterprise and operate how they operate because they're actually extremely criminal, and they like to do it right in your face, but they're so smart about how they do it that you don't realize it's happening until like a very long time after. So what we should do is get some really good applicants from the media to get in there, get some good applicants from the IRS, get some good applicants from the FBI, get some good applicants from the DOJ, the DEA, national security. I don't know, whatever the deal is to automate the freight trucks from OTI. I think we need to get some really good undercovers hired in low level and high level and mid level positions from all of the fiercest, most like intense agencies and exposure opportunities in the world. And they can gather intel and basically like torpedo this RICO enterprise that's operating. And I think it should all be done under Rebecca Jones, because she seems to be the only one that really cares about transparency. And she's the only one that's really standing up to what's going on. So again, for the 100th time, I just really appreciate, Rebecca Jones, your candor and your constant asking. But yeah, I mean, don't lose any sleep at night, because you never know who your next assistant is going to be, or your next auditor, or your next mid-level manager. Hopefully it's somebody with a good amount of guts and a good amount of exposure opportunities and a good method of reporting the malfeasance that they find and holding you guys accountable. Thank you.
That concludes our public comment on this item, Chair.
Okay, any member comments? Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. So I heard you state that there were 5,000 applicants, 240 were screened and interviewed. And you also stated that there's an increase in highly qualified candidates. But that also contradicts what's in the agenda packet, in that they just contradict one another a little bit. If I'm on page 43, in terms of, it says down by the screening committee. So it says the current pool is insufficient to fill the vacancies. Essentially, what I'm looking at is, we say that we have an increase of highly qualified candidates, but then it states that we don't over here, and you're requesting to extend the timeline for more recruitment and outreach. And I just think that that's a delay in the process, which costs money. And I don't see the need for that. I guess that's more of just a comment. Thank you.
I don't know what item.
Oh, okay.
Where that is.
I was on. Oh gosh, you know what? I'm on 3.6. I apologize for that. I'll bring that up. Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty.
But council member, I think the big piece here is, Josh has to give this report on where we are, recruitment, all that. What we are seeing is that whenever we put certain recruitments, it's not always across the board. We're seeing an extremely high amount of qualified people across the board, and a lot has to be done because in other areas there's been cuts or departures, especially in the federal government. So that's a phenomenon that we are seeing huge numbers of applicants, which is excellent. And it does take a little bit more time to screen and all that, those applicants there. But that's kind of where we're going. We're trying to maintain the agency status quo on the numbers of it. Probably in the future, once we do more analysis, maybe attrit a little bit more through natural attrition. I think also the departures have been going down. That's still not to the point where we will like it, but there was a period in time that people leaving the agency was high, and now we're seeing a little bit lower. So that leads us to believe that our being an agency that is attractive in retention, providing a good work environment, an encouraging and challenging job. Even the dynamics with the board, it's creating a much better work environment for our employees, and therefore we see the reduction of the departures, of the attrition numbers. I don't know, Josh, if you want to add anything there.
I think you said that perfectly. And then I think the engagement survey is where we're going to get more information and be able to use that to improve even more.
Very good. First Vice Chair LaCava.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Josh, for the work in this kind of annually mandated reporting going forward. We can always thank Sacramento to make us do more work that may or may not be productive, but here we are. To some of the issues that were raised by the public, the 56 vacancies were based on the FY26 budget and the information you have today. Can you kind of speak to those 56 vacancies relative to the FY27 budget that we just adopted? Are all those vacancies carried to FY27, or did we make any changes, or can you know?
They will carry over to the FY27 budget. You will see a very slight change to total headcount in the final budget for FY27. And then they're across the agency. They're in various departments, and they are managed on a bi-weekly basis with the executive team, taking a look at those vacancies, thinking of them as openings against the request to recruit. And so we're always reallocating based on agency needs. So it's a very dynamic situation, right, but we are seeing improvements in that total number of vacancies going down.
Yeah, you raise a good point. A vacancy that was anticipated during the budget adoption may not be one that we're actually trying to fill based on the needs of the organization. And Mario, thank you for making your comment about what I think hopefully all of us have seen, that SANDAG is pivoting to be an employer of choice. And that really speaks to the executive team, to the board members, and in how we're operating now. And so that's huge. That's really going to be key to the success. So thank you. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. If no further discussion, there's no action to be taken on this. I will adjourn this meeting until May 8th at 9 a.m.